David, still a young shepherd, is sent. After David begins serving Saul as a musician, his life takes a dramatic turn. The story continues as follows. David and Goliath. While David is still serving Saul, the Israelites face their longtime enemies, the Philistines. The Philistine army brings out their champion Goliath, a giant of a man, challenging the Israelites to send one warrior to face him in single combat. Goliath taunts Israel's army for 40 days, but no one dares to fight him because of his intimidating size and strength. David, still a young shepherd, is sent by his father Jesse to bring food to his brothers who are fighting with Saul's army. When he arrives, he hears Goliath's taunts and sees the fear of the Israelite soldiers. David, filled with faith in God, volunteers to fight Goliath, declaring, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." 1 Samuel 17:37. Despite his youth, David convinces Saul to let him fight. He declines Saul's armor and instead goes out to face Goliath with only his shepherd's staff, 5 smooth stones, and a sling. In the battle, David uses his sling to hurl a stone at Goliath's forehead, hitting him with such precision and force that the giant falls. David then takes Goliath's sword and kills him, securing a great victory for Israel. This triumph brings David fame and admiration throughout Israel. Saul's jealousy of David. After David's victory over Goliath, he becomes a hero in Israel, and Saul appoints him as a high-ranking officer. David is successful in his campaigns, and the people's love for him grows, particularly among the soldiers. However, Saul becomes increasingly jealous of David's popularity, especially after hearing the women sing, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." This jealousy deepens into a dangerous obsession, and Saul begins to see David as a threat to his throne. In moments of anger and envy, Saul even tries to kill David, throwing a spear at him multiple times while David is playing music to soothe him. David manages to evade these attempts, but Saul's hostility only intensifies. David and Jonathan's friendship. Despite Saul's hatred, David forms a deep and loyal friendship with Saul's son, Jonathan. Jonathan recognizes David's faith and courage and even sees him as the rightful future king. The two make a covenant, vowing to protect and support each other no matter what happens. Jonathan becomes David's greatest ally and often warns him of his father's plans to kill him. With Jonathan's help, David is able to escape Saul's attempts on his life and goes into hiding. David as a fugitive. David flees from Saul and becomes a fugitive. During this time, he gathers a band of loyal followers, forming a small army of men who are also outcasts or distressed. David's life on the run is difficult, as Saul constantly pursues him. Despite many opportunities, David refrains from killing Saul, respecting him as the Lord's anointed king and leaving Saul's fate in God's hands. In one notable incident, David spares Saul's life in a cave where Saul unknowingly takes shelter. David cuts off a piece of Saul's robe to show that he could have killed him but chose not to. This act briefly shames Saul, who realizes David's righteousness, but Saul's jealousy soon returns. Saul's death and David becomes king. Eventually, Saul and his sons, including Jonathan, die in a battle against the Philistines. David mourns the loss of his dear friend Jonathan and shows respect for Saul despite all Saul had done to him. After Saul's death, David is anointed king over the tribe of Judah in the city of Hebron. However, the kingdom remains divided for a time, with Saul's surviving son, Ishbosheth, ruling the northern tribes of Israel. After a period of conflict, Ishbosheth is killed, and the people come to David, asking him to unite the tribes as king over all Israel. David accepts and is anointed king over all of Israel, establishing his reign from Jerusalem, which he captures and makes his capital city. Under David's leadership, Israel becomes stronger and more united than ever. David brings the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem, making it the spiritual center of the nation. This marks the beginning of David's reign as the king chosen by God, a period that will bring great achievements and later significant challenges and personal trials. David's story continues with both victories and struggles as he endeavors to follow God, but also faces the consequences of his own human weaknesses.